İstanbul'da çok ciddi bir trafik problemi
In
yaşıyoruz.
Istanbul, we are currently having a
Fakat
very
iki
serious
tane
traffic problem. Even though we have two
köprümüz var
bridges
ve
for
bu
motor
köprü üzerinde
vehicles,
sadece karayolu
once the
trafiği
project is
akmakta.
completed,
Marmaray
both continents
sistemi
will be connected
bittikten
by a
sonra
suburban
iki
train
kıta
and an
hem
intercity
banyo
freight and public transportation
ulaşımı hem de
Bridges are expensive and interfere with shipping traffic. So to add capacity, planners have opted for a tunnel instead of another bridge.
Kaç tane grup var? Bir tane mi? Kimler var?
Their plan calls for an 8.5-mile long underwater railroad line to carry cargo, cars, and trucks 150 feet beneath the sea. To build it, they are using an innovative design called a submerged tunnel. Surprisingly, the entire structure is actually built on land. Then pieces of the tunnel are floated out and assembled underwater. It's a technique that might work in the Arctic, with a few modifications. In Istanbul, workers first built a massive dry dock, where they constructed 11 442-foot-long boxes called elements. Each element is wide enough for two trains to run side by side. The crews then floated each box out into the strait, positioned it precisely above the seabed, and sunk the element.
You hang the boxes from several points, and when you take water into the element, it will be heavier than the water, and gradually you can lower the element to the seabed.
Once the segments were connected underwater, the tunnel pieces were buried in sand to protect them. Now, in the last stages of construction, the elements are still connected to the surface through access shafts in the middle of the strait, one of the busiest commercial waterways in the world.
There are huge vessels passing through the Istanbul Bosphorus, and it is very risky for us during the construction.
If a ship were to go off course, even a little, it could crash right through the work site, flooding the tunnel. But that's not the only worry. As near the Bering Strait, this is earthquake country. A quake could be devastating to the workers 150 feet below. In an emergency, their only hope is an underwater chamber stocked with vital supplies, what they call the panic room.
Şimdi yaklaşık
We are
45
going down
metre
150
11
feet
tane
to
element
reach the
ulaşmak için
11
aşağı doğru
elements
iniyor.
below.
Hassan Gökdere is the site foreman.
Şu an elementler içinde yaklaşık 30 kişi
There are about 30
çalışıyor, onları
people
kontrol
down at the
ediyor.
elements, and we're going down to check on them.
Hassan is the only person authorized to escort visitors down to see the panic room and the inside of the tunnel.
Şu an Boğaz'ın
We are
yaklaşık
currently
45 metre altında
150
bulunuyoruz.
feet below the Bosphorus Strait.
Tüplerimizde ve şaftımızda herhangi bir
In
acil
case of
durum
an
veya kaza
emergency,
anında
like a
işçilerimiz
breach
ve
in the
bizler bu
tubes or shaft,
panik odası dediğimiz
we all
odada
come to one of
toplanıyoruz.
these panic rooms.
Şimdi panik odasındayız.
This is the panic room.
Sularımız,
This is the water supply.
yiyeceklerin
This is the
bulunduğu
food.
çantalarımız. Yukarıyla iletişim
And
sağladığımız
this is the communications link to the land site.
Şaftın kırılması durumunda kullandığımız odamız. Bu gördüğünüz hortumlar ve vanalar da yukarıdan bizim...
These pipes and valves are what we use to supply air to the workers. Here we can supply air up to a maximum of 40 people for up to 10 days.
Yaşayabilecekleri havayı sağlayabiliyoruz.
If the tunnel were to break open, the rupture would likely happen at one of these joints. This is where box numbers 6 and 7 meet. Up on land, each element was walled shut. Down here, crews first weld the boxes together at these joints and then carve out the inner walls. It's the most dangerous step in the process. Once the walls are removed, the joined elements form one long rectangular tube. around the protected walls between sections 7 and 8. To break through each steel wall, the crew has to remove 40 tons of metal, 3 weeks of hot, back-breaking work. Now the team is just months from completing the tunnel that they began to build 6 long years ago. The submerged tunnel is one of the fastest and least expensive methods of underwater construction. And in Istanbul, it's well suited to local conditions. But could it work in the Bering Strait? The most obvious difference between the two